In today's scoop we'll see the latest updated regarding Missing Titanic Submersible. What is a submersible? A submersible is a vessel in the submarine family but smaller and less self-sufficient than the classic military sub. CBS correspondent describes getting lost on previous submersible trip. CBS News correspondent David Pogue tweeted about his experience last year joining the crew and a group of tourists to see the wreck, but he said the submersible got lost for a few hours on that trip. There's no GPS underwater, and communications between the submersible and a surface ship guiding it broke down on part of that trip, too, Pogue said in his report, which aired in November. An experimental submersible vessel that has not been approved or certified by any regulatory body could result in physical injury, disability, emotional trauma, or death, Pogue read from a form he signed on camera in the report. The submersible has about as much room as a minivan, Pogue said. I couldn't help noticing how many pieces of this sub seemed improvised, Pogue said, showing viewer what he described as a small, sort of, toilet. OceanGate CEO Stockton Rush showed Pogue a video game controller and said it was used to run the whole thing. Who is on board the submersible? An initial group of tourists in 2021 paid $100,000 to $150,000 apiece to visit the wreck site. OceanGate's website described the mission support fee for the 2023 expedition as $250,000 a person. British businessman Hamish Harding, who lives in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, was one of the mission specialists, according to Action Aviation, a company for which Harding is chairman. Harding is an adventurer who holds 3 Guinness World Records, including the longest duration at full ocean depth by a crewed vessel. In March 2021, he and ocean explorer Victor Vescovo dived to the lowest depth of the Mariana Trench in the western Pacific. In June 2022, he flew into space on Blue Origin's New Shepard rocket. Shahzada Dawood and his son Suleiman, members of one of Pakistan's most prominent families, also were on board, according to a family statement sent to the Associated Press. The family is known for investments in agriculture, industry and the health sector. Shahzada Dawood also is on the board of trustees for the California-based SETI Institute, which searches for extraterrestrial intelligence. French explorer and Titanic expert Paul-Henri Nargeolet also was on board, according to David Gallo, a senior advisor for strategic initiatives and special projects at RMS Titanic. Gallo identified Nargeolet, a friend who has led multiple expeditions to the Titanic, on Tuesday during an interview with CNN. When did the Titanic submarine go missing? The craft launched Sunday morning, but its support vessel lost contact with it about an hour and 45 minutes later, according to the Coast Guard. The Titan disappeared in the North Atlantic Ocean, the remote area where the massive ocean liner the Titanic struck an iceberg and sank in 1912. All but about 700 of the roughly 2,200 passengers and crew died. The Titan was being launched from an icebreaker hired by OceanGate and formerly operated by the Canadian Coast Guard. The ship ferried dozens of people and the submersible to the North Atlantic site, where the Titan makes multiple dives. Where is the search area for the submersible? The U.S. Coast Guard in Boston is combing the ocean surface and below water in search of the submersible, using tools including sonar technology and aircraft. The location minus about 900 miles east of Cape Cod and up to 13,000 feet deep minus complicates the task, as does the need to look both on the ocean surface and below, the Coast Guard said. We are deploying all available assets to make sure that we can locate the craft and rescue the people on board, Mauger said. Organ failure a major threat as oxygen levels deep. Dr. Albert Rizzo, Chief Medical Officer of the American Lung Association, said those aboard the submersible would be experiencing organ failure as oxygen levels deep and less of it flows to the brain. This leads to weakness, confusion and loss of consciousness. If somebody has a pre-existing heart condition, that may precipitate the problem as those low oxygen levels develop, Rizzo said. Anxiety and fear, speech and a faster heart rate can increase the amount of oxygen a person uses, he added. There's a lot of unknowns here as to how the oxygen is supplied in the submersible itself, But it really depends on the rate at which each individual consumes the oxygen as to how long it's going to last, he said. The submersible's ability to filter out carbon dioxide is also a concerning factor if compromised, said Dr. Alexander Isakov, Emory University emergency medicine physician and a former diving medical officer with the U.S. Navy. High carbon dioxide levels are dangerous and can lead to fatigue, hyperventilation, coma and death, he said. Life-threatening hypothermia is also a concern, he said. The submersible's ability to maintain a comfortable temperature is essential amid the extreme cold of the ocean's depths. Report: experts warned OceanGate of catastrophic outcome. OceanGate, the company that operates the missing submersible, was warned its approach to the enterprise could have a catastrophic outcome, according to a 2018 letter written by leaders in the submersible craft industry obtained by the New York Times. The letter was addressed to OceanGate CEO Stockton Rush who's on board the current voyage, according to the company by members of the Marine Technology Society, an organization that advocates for ocean technology and education. The 30-plus signatories said they were apprehensive about the company's experimental approach to its planned exploration of the Titanic wreckage and about the vessel's design, believing they could lead to safety problems that would have a negative impact on the industry as a whole. The letter also says OceanGate's claim that its watercraft design meets or surpasses safety standards is misleading to the public and breaches an industry-wide professional code of conduct we all endeavor to uphold. A challenging search operation. Rear Admiral John Mauger, commander of the 1st Coast Guard District, told NBC's Today Show Tuesday that his crews were working to prioritize underwater search efforts and get equipment there. Experts told the Associated Press the challenges are difficult. Alistair Grieg, a professor of marine engineering at University College London, said submersibles typically have a drop weight, which is a mass they can release in the case of an emergency to bring them up to the surface using buoyancy. A power failure would leave the vessel bobbing on the surface, he said. There could also be a leak in the pressure hull, he said. If it has gone down to the seabed and can't get back up under its own power, options are very limited, Grieg said. While the submersible might still be intact, if it is beyond the continental shelf, there are very few vessels that can get that deep, and certainly not divers. Pennsylvania Explorer says it will be difficult to find Titan. Pennsylvania Explorer and CEO of Hagen Construction, Fred Hagen, visited the Titanic wreckage twice aboard the now missing Titan submersible. Hagen shared his concerns and worries about the crew's safety, especially with his two friends, Narjalet and Rush, aboard. He said it will be very difficult to find the Titan, because it was difficult to find the Titanic. On his 2 trips aboard the Titan in 2021 and last summer, Hagen said the submersible lost contact with its mothership on the ocean's surface at times but was able to re-establish communications. He fears that won't be the case here but said he didn't want to give up hope and that there could be an act of God to save the ship. Banging, noise heard during search, internal memo says. Crews detected banging and acoustic feedback sounds Tuesday while searching for the Titan submersible, according to an internal memo sent to Department of Homeland Security leadership that was obtained by Rolling Stone and CNN. A Canadian aircraft heard the banging sounds every 30 minutes, according to the memo. Additional sonar was deployed and the banging could still be heard 4 hours later. The internal update did not state what time the banging was heard or exactly how long it lasted. In an update Tuesday night, crews said more acoustic feedback was heard. Additional acoustic feedback was heard and will assist in vectoring surface assets and also indicating continued hope of survivors, according to the update. It is unclear if an early Wednesday update from the Coast Guard is related to the internal memo. We pray all are safe.